Oh boy, here we go. We're here with Cheesehead TV, coming to you live on a Thursday night. Still in my living room, as you can see. And as the pint glass so aptly says, looks like it's fuck this shit o'clock. Salut. James, Big B, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Thanks to everybody for checking out the streams throughout the week and throughout the off season. Free agency is in full swing now, and the Packers have laid low after their initial couple of signings. And I can't say that's a surprise. We've talked about it often here. Obviously, the big news, if you want to call it that, in Packer fandom this afternoon came with the release of Clay Matthews by the Los Angeles Rams. Instantly, Twitter was afire with, should they bring him back? Will they bring him back? Could they bring him back? Aaron Rodgers going out of his way to like a tweet from Rob Domofsky talking about a possible reunion. I don't see it. I'd be very, very surprised given the manner in which he was allowed to walk. The idea of his having to kick inside because it's clear he's not going to be playing outside. Maybe in some situational purposes, they could use him on a rotational basis in that regard, but you got to get Rashawn Gary on the field. I'd be 1,000,000,000% shocked if they brought back Clay Matthews, a guy who really never wanted to play inside, and that's where they would have to play him. And I know it's been reported that he was open to possibly playing inside if they were amiable to bringing him back last year. But, you know, the guy doesn't want to play there. He's made it abundantly clear that he doesn't want to play inside. And now when the possibility comes up, he's open to the possibility. No. He's old. His legs are shot. Yes, he got a few sacks in 2019, but, you know, a couple of those early on were unblocked. And no, just not the way to go. They're going to look to the draft. They're going to augment pass rush and or inside linebacker, most likely through the draft, possibly on a cheap veteran signing of a veteran a couple of days into free agency if they want to augment the interior. But I do not see them bringing Clay Matthews back unless, you know, on the wild off chance that Clay is down for a 1-year veterans minimum contract, which I cannot for the life of me imagine he would be down for. But stranger things have happened, so we'll see. What's up, everybody in the comments section? Blowing up here on a Thursday night. We just rolling with Jace, Bob, and Big Dog at tight end? Andy, not necessarily. Delaney Walker is still out there, and the Packers reportedly have interest, so that could be a addition here in the next day or two. But, you know, if that is the case, if it is Jace, Bob, and Big Dog, I am more than fine with that trio. I think that trio could do a world of good. Nag, stream yourself playing Jedi Fallen Order. Oh, that's adorable. You think I have all this time to just stream myself playing video games? I still got to stream my Patreon Madden game. I got to start making that a regular thing because those are fun. Yeah, not going to be streaming myself playing any Star Wars games anytime soon. Dan Johnson, cheers. Salud. Tyler. Clay Matthews was social distancing from inside linebacker before it was cool. Well stated. Do you think that they will sign anyone else in free agency? If so, who? Like I just said, I think Delaney Walker is still a possibility. Maybe an inside backer. I couldn't begin to tell you who. There are a couple of aging options on the market. Yeah, I mean, I think there are guys to be had in a few days when the market settles. It's starting to settle right now. I think they'll find one or two bargains along the way. I don't expect a big splash signing, that's for sure. The one area maybe at wide receiver they make a move. But again, I know a lot of people talk about Robbie Anderson. They did try to trade for him, so he's clearly on their radar. But I'd be shocked if they brought him in on a significant deal. And I got to think he's going to find something on the market that pays him a little bit more than what the Packers are willing to offer. What's the realistic possibility of the Packers signing Robbie Anderson? Alex, I would give it about a 40% chance. I don't think it's great, but I do think it's a decent possibility just because they do need somebody. I mean, there's no question that they need to augment and improve at wide receiver. I just think it's a question of how much can they afford to pay, given their cap situation, hovering around, I believe, $12 million after all is said and done. I just can't imagine them breaking the bank for a guy who reportedly wants $15 million a year. I don't think he's worth near that in the Packers cap structure. I think he's well worth that on the open market. It's just a question of someone deciding to pay him that. And I don't think it'll be in Green Bay. Can you recap your thoughts on Kirksey? Sure, David. What else I got to do? I'm sitting here chatting with you guys. I think it's a great gamble to take, and it's clearly a gamble given his health issues over the last 2 years. I think he's a slight upgrade overall as a player from Martinez. But the trade-off is that Martinez has barely missed a snap, let alone a game, in his 4 years in the league, whereas Kirksey has clearly had trouble staying on the field. But if all is equal and you were playing Madden and you could turn injuries off, I think Kirksey's a slightly better player. I love his addition off the field. I love his addition in the locker room as a guy, as a character. I think he'll bring a lot in that regard. Clearly, last year, a lot was written and talked about the chemistry, etc. I think he will augment that part of it. But ultimately, that doesn't help you win games for the most part. I think it'll be all about him staying on the field, which he did for much of the first part of his career. His last 2 years, he seems to be a little snake bit. Hopefully that's past him now, and he's ready to consistently contribute for the Packers. Jake, thank you so much for the super chat. It's Aaron Rodgers' favorite day of the year, Nags. 319. 319. Anderson's been okay, but nowhere near a $15 million a year wide receiver, in my opinion. I mean, in a vacuum, I agree. But, you know, if you're a team in desperate need of a wide receiver, some might say the Packers are just that, I could see somebody pulling the trigger. Now, the problem is, of course, the Packers don't have that kind of cap space. So I can't imagine they're going to make that move. But that's not to say somebody else might not. NFC North as strong as it was last year? It's so early, impossible to say. Obviously, clearly, Tony, with the early moves, the first couple days here of the new league year, it's hard to see the NFC North as anything but having taken a step back. And I include the Packers there. But they don't play on Sunday. You know, there's months to go. Shit, if coronavirus has its way, maybe even a year to go before we start to even see this team take shape. These teams take shape. So, you know, yes. Do I think the North is a little weaker than it was last year at this point? Sure. But right now, as these teams are constructed, doesn't really mean a whole lot. Craig, thank you so much for the super chat. Talk to Grossi. He says you and Corey are going to his house for a long interview. I cannot wait for that show. Craig, we did indeed have an invitation from Mr. Grossi to come out to his abode and shoot the shit, so to speak, and talk some Packers. And that is going to happen at some point. Now we'll probably have a lot more free time at this point with Corona acting up. But yes, we will be doing that some point this summer. We'll see. Does the NFL season kick off on time? That is a great question. And as I said on Twitter, I think 2 days ago, I hope everyone enjoys the offseason and the draft because it'll be a miracle if the offseason kicks off on time. Now, I'm not ready to be total doomsday and say they'll cancel, push back, or truncate the season. But I'm telling you what, it's a legit possibility. There's no doubt about that. If you read the estimates and or predictions and you look at the science and you look at the need to flatten the curve and where hospitals are and where this thing could head, yeah, it's entirely possible that we're without not only the NFL, but sports in general for another 6 months to a year. I mean, that's obviously the worst case scenario, but it's a very real scenario. It's a very real possibility. I try not to think about it. I try to go with my buddy Nick Costas, who's like, if it all goes well, where sports are back on in June, I'm here for it, if that's the case. But yeah, I think it's very much a 50-50 proposition as to whether the NFL season starts on time. Bryson, thank you so much for the super chat. With Gurley released, I'm jumping the gun here. Why are the Bears so bad at drafting a quarterback? Like, figure you would hit on one at least. I mean, here's just a phenomenal pull from James Palmer, who is an NFL Network guy. I love him for tweeting this. This is true. These are real. these are facts only. Here are the rankings for Bears starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era. Since the Super Bowl came into being, since the Packers had Bart Starr start in Super Bowl I, here is where the starting quarterbacks for the Bears rank all time. NFL rank in passing yards per game with 173.3 yards per game, last. Passing yards per attempt at 6.5, last. Passing touchdowns per game, averaging 1, last. Touchdown to interception ratio, 0.93, last. And passer rating. Since the Super Bowl started, the Bears have trotted out a starting quarterback every single year since the Super Bowl began, and their collective passer rating is 71.9, good for, you guessed it, dead last. That's some quality content, ladies and gentlemen. Jake, thanks so much for the super chat. With Gurley released, do we try and trade them Williams and a pick or two for either Woods or Cooks? I'd be shocked if they made that kind of move. Cooks is obviously on the block, so to speak. I doubt Gutekunst goes that way, even though I know a lot has been said about his contract, and it is eye-popping when you look at it. But once you delve into it, it's tenable. The Packers could make it work, but I do think they'd have to make some moves on their own roster, and I just don't think Gutekunst is going to go that route. Mark, thanks so much for the super chat. What stops Gary from making a year 2 jump? Playtime? Not just playtime. I mean, I think that's the obvious kind of hindrance, if you will, as far as his, getting on the field and making things happen. Part of that is Preston and Za'Darius being willing to come off the field, which Za'Darius did everything in his power to stay on the field as much as possible last year. But, maybe injuries get him on the field. You'd never want to wish that on the Smiths, obviously. But, hey, no team can stay as healthy as the Packers were last year, 2 years in a row. It's just not going to happen. You don't know where those injuries are going to strike, possibly at outside linebacker. But, yes, the biggest, I would think, kind of wall in his ability to take that year 2 jump would be playing time, because, hey, I think he acquitted himself quite well when he was on the field in his rookie season. But the only way you're going to get better, the only way you do improve, the only way you do develop is with live reps. It's all well and good to give him, to talk about all the stuff he's doing in practice, in the preseason even, but none of that matters. Live game reps are where you improve, are where you kind of test your mettle against the best and against the rest of the NFL. And that's what he needs, 100%. Outside of that, clearly, it's a big shift from what he was asked to do in college, especially the stuff standing up and dropping and turning his hips and running with guys. That's always going to be kind of like the part of his game that he needs to work on the most. I'm interested to see how much of that comes to fruition early on in year 2. Jake, thanks so much for the super chat. Think there's any truth to the rumors with the linebacker with the Jaguars? I mean, never say never, but I'd be shocked. They're going to whoever ends up trading and getting the young man is going to have to pay him a small fortune. And I can't imagine the Packers not only giving up draft picks, but then having to pay the guy. That's pretty much what stops most of those kind of trades from happening in Green Bay. Craig, thanks so much for the super chat. Again, my friend who is a lifelong Pats fan just bought season tickets for the Buccaneers. I'm going to see the Packers in Tampa. There you go. We actually talked about that on the radio this afternoon. I was on 97.3 The Game with Drew and KB, and we said, hey, we're all going to put in for Buccaneers season tickets because you can flip the other ones and just go to the Packers game. I'm down with it. And, of course, this is why the Glazers made that move. They're going to sell tickets. They're going to sell merchandise. They're going to sell concessions when Tom's playing, etc. It's a windfall for them. Jitsu, thanks so much for the super chat. Gurley release today was gutting reality to swallow. I don't envy Gutekunst and company with the Jones situation, but I trust them. I mean, look, it's been reported that both the Packers and Jones have mutual interest on extending his deal. Now, obviously, Jones is in a good spot in the sense that he knows how important he is to the offense. But I also think he and his representatives know the reality of the running back market. And I don't think there's any way they're going to try and break the bank, so to speak. I think they'll be smart about it. I think they'll get some guarantees up front and then make things, tenable as far as, okay, if you hit certain escalator or you hit certain benchmarks, you get some escalators. And if you stay on the field, if you're active, etc., you'll get some more money. And I think a 2 or 3 year deal extension to add on to his year this year, I think that's probably where it's headed. But if they're not smart about it and if they demand a big deal, then I got to imagine the Packers just walk away from it. I can't imagine them signing Aaron Jones to some monster extension. I just don't see it. Hey, Nags, the 2020 opponents have already been released, but now they've got 17 games. Any word on how that extra game will play out as far as the home and away will be in the division or more random? Well, Dan, to dispel any kind of confusion, there will be no 17th game in 2020. The 17th game doesn't start until 2021. There will be expanded playoffs in 2020, so there won't be 2 teams with a bye. There'll only be one. Only the number 1 seed gets a bye in 2020 in the playoffs. But for 2020, there are only 16 games. As for how they're going to determine that home and away, that hasn't really been set yet, which is kind of hilarious to me. I did see some talk about how it would flip between the NFC, AFC, etc. But even home and away, none of that. And where that 17th game will be played, none of that has been set yet, which is hilarious, seeing as they have already passed the CBA. Why did the Rams sour on Gurley so fast? Rumor has it they found out he was no. Why do people buy into internet bullshit? It just drives me insane. They paid him. And then they got to a point in his contract where they didn't want to pay him anymore because, look, he was great when he had a great offensive line. And then he got hurt. And then they didn't have a great offensive line anymore. And then they didn't want to pay him. This isn't difficult. You don't need to make up internet bullshit, people. Nays, can you give us a Star Wars movie ranking later tonight? Please, all 9, best to worst. I got to know your ranking. Well, Bruce, I've put it out there a couple times. Let me see if I can Google it real quick. Because, it's not tough, but I want to get it right. And also on Gurley, for everyone asking, I would be surprised or almost shocked if he didn't end up in Atlanta. Let me see if this is here. Okay, this is before. Was this before the latest? I think so. But yeah, I would probably put. Okay, so it's Empire Strikes Back, New Hope, Rogue One, Return of the Jedi. I'd probably put Rogue One and Solo at the same spot, so tied at number 3. Then Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. Then, oh God, it's so hard. Revenge of the Sith, and then Rise of Skywalker, Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, the animated film, and then Attack of the Clones, which is absolute garbage. There you go. When does the schedule get announced? Usually the week before the draft. Who knows this year, though? I mean, with everything that they have to put in place logistically, and now that everything has kind of been wiped off the map as far as events go, I don't know how are they going to go full steam ahead? Are they going to wait to the last minute to try and, as the rest of the world rumbles back to life, if that is what happens, then concerts get rebooked, events get rebooked. These stadiums double as event spaces sometimes. Like, who knows? But traditionally, it's the week before the draft. So I would say, towards the end of April, hopefully, is when we get a schedule. Do you think Perryman would be a great weapon for Rodgers? I do, Christopher. I think he'd be an outstanding addition. I'm not surprised that the wide receiver market has kind of been a little quiet early on. Obviously, Cooper got paid. But I think teams are wary, much like they are at running back, wary of paying big money to wide receivers, guys who don't touch the ball a whole lot. They can't affect the game, but I mean, obviously clearly the Chiefs are coming off a Super Bowl victory where they had some weapons at wide receiver. There's no doubt about it. But before that, a lot of teams are winning Super Bowls without big names at wide receiver. Yes, big contributions, but not big names. So I think teams are wise to kind of wait it out and let these asking prices come down a little bit. But getting back to Perryman, yes, 100%. I think he's one of the more underrated guys. I prefer Taylor Gabriel. I know not a lot, but some Packers fans are kind of not in love with that idea. I think he was underutilized / grossly, I guess, ignored by Nagy and the Bears. I think he would be a really nice addition. But yes, I think Perryman also would do some major damage in the LaFleur's system with Aaron Rodgers pulling the trigger. No doubt about it. Take one or two more here, folks. You and your family safe? Yeah, we're doing good. My girls are going to be here with me tomorrow and through the weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun. I may truncate some of my chat time, but yes, the girls are good. I'm good. I haven't barely left the house. I left for my laundry and I left for groceries, and that's it. Otherwise, I helped produce a live show from my living room yesterday. That's my life at the moment. Good times. My COVID conspiracy theory, the Cats movie. I mean, you make a good point there, Nathan. You make a good point. Can you tell us about the Cheesehead TV draft guide? I can, Alex. It is very close to completion. And our Patreon members will get early access to it. I'm not sure how much early, but it will be significant. It is, bar none, the best resource for any Packers fan who is interested in who they're going to draft and or who they might draft. Absolute a labor of love, fantastic work throughout. Everybody that you want to know about as far as a prospect goes, great feature articles. I have an interview with Raven Green that's going to be included about his journey as an undrafted guy into the NFL. We'll have a special draft guide only version of Packer transplants you only can get if you purchase the draft guide. It's a multimedia extravaganza, and we do it every year. It's a labor of love. I tell you what, it's not a huge moneymaker. Like it helps us, obviously. We make money on it, but it's not a huge driver. It's not the reason we do it. We do it because people love it. Like every year we sell more and more of them. I think because Packers fans really appreciate the fact that it's by fans, for fans, and it's exhaustive when it comes to the draft, to the prospects, and the idea of how these guys fit with the Packers. You know, every other draft guide you're going to buy is about the prospects and how they fit in the NFL and or what kind of prospect they are generally. The draft guide for Cheesehead TV is all about how they fit with the Packers, how they fit scheme specifically. It's the whole reason we do it. It's the whole reason we started doing it, and it just kind of grew from there. All right, I can't thank you guys enough for joining me. I got to eat. I'm starving. Haven't had eaten since like 2 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you so much for jumping on with me. Please hit like, hit subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we're devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Have a good night, everybody.